Yo, hello? Hello?
Yo, what's up, man?
Yo, it's actually you. What's up?
Yeah, it's me. I've been busy, but I saw you were. I was literally just like sweeping and vacuuming. I saw you were streaming right now. I was like, oh, maybe I'll talk to Haas right now. It's the end of my day, so what's up?
Yo, what's up, man? All right, to start, I already DM'd you a little bit about the show that I watched that you recommended.
Oh yeah, Jericho. Let's fucking. Did you watch the
Jericho.
whole thing?
I didn't watch the whole thing, unfortunately.
Okay,
I got caught up, but I watched a lot of the first season.
it's so fucking good, dude.
It's
I love that
so
show.
good. Yeah, it's actually everything you said it would be. It's actually really it's just actually also just a good show too, like good
Yeah,
characters, good character
yeah. It's like
development.
it was like the peak of like that type of. I use the term soap opera with affection in this sense, but there's like very much like a really well coordinated soap opera in like a post-apocalyptic scenario, but it has such a such a like revolutionary politics in it, like that has never really been approximated since, in my opinion, by American TV.
Yeah, I mean, like we said last time, they can't do it. They literally can't get away with it, and it's like,
No, it would be considered like a domestic terror threat to like
yeah,
air this show again.
it'd be QAnon fucking
Yeah, straight
propaganda.
up, because it's literally about how like the United States government, the deep state, is like the enemy,
I
and
don't.
they've like done a false flag attack on America and like are using private mercenaries to police like the patriots who are trying to put the country back together after the fact. It's literally like they would not be allowed to do that. It's actually amazing that they did it back when they did it because it was like 2004 2006, but you could still get away with it because it was like anti-Bush, which was still
I
like
remember that. I
yeah.
remember back then, even Alex Jones was not considered like a dangerous guy back then.
Oh, Alex Jones used to be like that's the funny thing about like Austin, Texas and stuff. Like Alex Jones was like a countercultural figure for like Gen X.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I gotta ask you this: did you see Civil War, the movie?
No, dude. I can't keep up with anything. I see that it's out, but I'm never gonna watch it.
Really? I don't know if it's
I'm
really
an old
worth
man now,
in.
dude. I'm an old man. I just mean for purely pragmatic purposes. Like I'll probably see it in, like 6 months.
I don't. Yeah, I get you on there. I saw it. I don't really think it's a must watch necessarily. I think, but it does kind of capture a zeitgeist. I'm not saying it's a great
Yeah.
film, but it's like it definitely like very timely. To be honest, it's like you watch it and it's like, wow, this is. But my theory was that it's a psyop to like tell Americans not to have a civil war because it would be really bad. But
I mean,
I don't think it's
yeah.
gonna work though because people already understand. Like even the movie's very biased, and they're like, "Oh, this is Democrat propaganda," and it's like they're right. It is.
I don't know. I've been feeling sort of I guess at the same time as like I'm not really active as much as I used to be. I'm like busy being a dad, but I'm mostly involved with like talking to parents at the playground and things like this now. Like I spend much less time online, and it's amazing how much there's a sort of eerie calmness over everything. Like no one really wants to talk about any of these things, at least in the milieu that I'm in right now. Like it's it's like the most apolitical time period I've ever lived through. I think when it comes to like day to day interactions, like on the internet, it's the complete opposite, obviously. But
Yeah,
like it's sort of like everyone's like a little superhero with their like alter ego on the internet or whatever
that's
now at this
so
point, right?
true. I mean, I was just thinking about it, and
I was
yes,
actually
ev-
I was thinking about this because I walk around and I look and I see people and I'm like, which one of you like I can just like because at the same time like I'm walking around like pushing a stroller like doing chores, but I'm listening to like a Baptist preacher talking about the red heifers and things like this in my one earbud, and I'm looking around thinking like who amongst you would be raptured, like who's ready for this shit that's about to go down.
you know what? I just realized something. Anytime I go anywhere now, and it wasn't like this 2 years ago, there is no political discussion going on because everyone's fucking
No,
scared to. Because
yeah,
nobody
no one will broach it at all.
but there's also like an implicit everyone is like aware and on edge, like, yeah, we all are tapped into like a political consciousness, like hyper aware
Yeah.
political consciousness, but we're not going to talk about it because like, are you on the right side? Are you on this side? What, like, that's how, you know,
It's overdetermined.
that's why shit might go down, to be honest. It's kind of a
Well, it may,
very,
but like, so this is how I see things playing out. So, I think that it'll just be that, like honestly, like as much as it seems like Trump could like easily win just from the fact that everyone hates Biden that much, and that would lead to like a whole new round of like chaos in the American political situation. I honestly just don't think that they can obviously just like rig the elections and have Joe Biden win, sort of step down where we have like Queen Kamala overseeing our war, entering like low grade warfare with the three rival powers like in BRICS and things like this. Like, I don't think it's like that far out of the realm of possibility that things just kind of like clunk along like this.
you know what? I think feminists might be right though about one thing. Um, maybe there is something about America where if we ever have a female president, that's when we're gonna have.
Yeah, no, I think that no, I see. Like, I honestly like. I'm more of like the way I see it is like I tried to explain this on Twitter yesterday or whatever. I was like, no, it's like the difference between like what our views and like these people who are like, for instance, yesterday blocking the Golden Gate Bridge for commuters to go, Palestine, Palestine. The difference between us and them is that like we're not like seeking to like press a button in the exact moment or whatever because we know that there's nothing that you can do in this exact moment. Like this is like Lenin in the year 1900, like we're like hitting the books and things like this. We have like a long-term view of these things, but I sort of think that like a third world war like is pretty much inevitable at this point. All signs are pointing to go. The plans have been laid since like the 70s. I was listening to Hudson put out a recent thing. He did an interview, but it's on his website right now. If y'all in the chat want to read it, it's the most recent thing on his website, michaelhudson.com. Where he's talking about his own experience at like the con, like KA, like in the like with the Rand Corp type people or whatever back in the 70s, and like some of these people are now like the head of Mossad and stuff like that.
I read that.
All of this has been planned in advance. Like there's no like the notion that there's some sort of like activism that we can do to like change these plans that have been put into place like over 50 years ago. I think is just retarded. Like there's nothing we can do about that.
It's like no,
I'm totally fine
you
with
have to
accepting
understand. The people in power never could have envisioned this scenario of you handing out.
It's like
flyers.
No, they planned it.
You know what would scare the shit out of them if nobody ever did anything at all. That would actually scare the fuck out of them.
What you said about like 10 minutes ago is what would actually scare the fuck out of them. If people just didn't file taxes this year, if everyone just said, you know what, not this year. That's the only thing that. There was actually a thing on. Sometimes my Twitter for you shows me something good. It was this girl who was in the David Foster Wallace archive, and I think it's some Texas university has it. But his last book, famously, The Pale King, is about the IRS, and he became obsessed with like the tax code. He was writing a novel about like taxes and things like this, and like changes in the IRS in like the 90s. He was like studying to be a CPA and things like this. Like he was like learning like the real like hard science of taxation in America, basically. But there's a letter where he was talking to someone at the IRS, and he was like, how many people would have to not pay taxes for like the system to basically crumble? And the guy at the IRS said, oh, we've done the research on this, and we're not going to tell you that number. Like, there's no way we're going to tell you what that number is.
Yeah, it kind of seems like it would probably be a way lower number than we think.
It's a way lower number than anyone would expect.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, but roping back to it a little bit to Kamala, I just kind of think Americans would never tolerate Kamala Harris being president. Like, we can tolerate Joe Biden, who's like a senile.
The thing is that like we kind of enjoy hating the president. Like that's actually that's sort of some. That's why we're talking about the Bush era, right? Like that was like a time of, in my memory now, is like a time of like extreme like cultural cohesion and things like this, and like the ability for people to come together around things.
I'm not saying this. I'm not actually like unironically saying like I'm a feminist, but there is something about revolutions being created in response to women becoming like the symbol of authority. And every single one that's happened, I'm thinking of it now, that was the context. Like France, you had Marie Antoinette. And then in Russia, you had the Tsarina, who was accused of like
Sure,
infidelity
sure.
and stuff. And like,
There's obvious cases as well. Like I always just think of Queen Elizabeth or like Catherine the Great or like other examples. But
yeah,
yeah, no, I see where you're getting at. I think it would be more that like Kamala was someone who's effectively like the representative of like complete like you know, say what you will about Joe Biden, obviously, but he's like been there for so long, like that he was sort of like predetermined to be there. He was quote unquote qualified for it. Even if like someone like Hillary Clinton, I could have imagined the Hillary Clinton presidency. I don't think that would have spawned a revolution. But someone like Kamala Harris is has no reason for being where she is at all. Like she's completely lost.
that's
She's
what
like
I
on
think.
Xanax the whole
That's
time.
what would outrage people. And it's not like just because they're misogynistic. It's kind of like a thing. I also think America is different from other countries in that, you know, we represent, I don't want to like use words incorrectly, but we do kind of, or in a cringe way, but like we do represent this kind of like logocentric technological civilization, like the
Yeah,
apex of it, which is obviously like a very masculine
we're like a
code.
schizo. I was thinking the polarity of like schizophrenia, autism, psychopathy, and sociopathy, and sort of like making a cardinality out of this. We're like a schizo-autist country,
Yeah.
which is definitely like male coded, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think we will ever have a female president
No,
unless we're, well, not in a foreseeable, not like now, you know. I don't know if there's a different scenario. You know what I think? I think the only countries where you can have a female president are ones that are somehow like organically
they're
united.
satrapies. Oh, I was thinking of the exact opposite. I was thinking of like Germany.
That's also possible, but when you have ones that are already somehow like united, where people like already have a sense of like commonality or whatever, like, and you're just preserving the status quo, like, yeah, it's not, it doesn't cause too much of a ruckus. Like Germany's a great example of that, right? But
Yeah,
in the US, where we're only united by our political system and nothing else, like literally nothing else is keeping anything together, I think that would be a recipe for disaster, actually.
yeah.
For like that would accelerate
I just
collapse,
think
I
I
think.
just think that like what I'm saying is that like I think that like a third like the sort of escalation of military actions that has been ongoing for like years now at this point, which seems to have no off ramp either. I think it'll just like create like a sort of zone of exception for like the normative processes of democracy anyway.
Oh
So
yeah.
like the idea, like you know what I mean, like so it's not, it doesn't really matter like what the legit this former sense of legitimacy of elections, like all of that's already out the window. So like I think really like the revolutionary situation is really like when America is defeated in that conflict, which I think is also inevitable. I don't see like people like everyone who's so bullish on like the prospects of the American empire or whatever in terms of like a global geopolitical conflict. I think they're just like huffing their own farts or something at this
I
point.
mean,
Like it's
look, it's
so
so clear to
retarded.
me that people, we are not discursively caught up to what has actually happened in the world. I'm not speaking to the choir right now, obviously, you know this,
Yeah,
with China and Russia and this new like economic systems being built. But I'm worried more immediately because I think you're right, and it is going to be, I mean, like, I love to fantasize that we're getting a civil war in 2024, but it's way more likely we're getting a world war instead. Because what? They're just going to let the system collapse? No, they're going to do everything they can to save it. And all they have left, like you said, is a world war, right?
I mean, we're at the point, right, where it's like the recent like arms sales to Israel, for instance, are a completely unprecedented situation where there's like actually no process of legitimizing it whatsoever. It was literally done like officially under the cover, under the table at
Yeah,
this
and,
point.
and,
You know what I mean? Where like
here's
they're just
something I've
announcing that they're
noticed.
criminally doing this.
Before I get to like what I'm worried about immediate, I mean, I'm actually a spoiler. It's obvious we're gonna get rounded up and arrested. But you know, I've
Yeah,
been,
that worries me.
yeah, exactly. But I've also been noticing, like, how is the world war going to be justified, right? And some people might think that, oh, it's going to be justified, you know, in this ideological thing of democracy. And you know, I know you're not paying attention to like latest trends. there's this new game called Helldivers. Everyone's playing
Yes,
it.
yes. The post. I know what held I pay attention enough.
Okay,
So
okay.
I think I know where you're going with this. This sort of
Yeah,
like
and
post-ironic, like, oh
exactly.
yeah, we're
Nobody
defending
nobody
democracy. Wink, wink.
nobody actually believes in America's values or its self-proclaimed ideology or its principles, but there is this kind of fascistic, like, over
I've been
identification.
predicting this. I'll tell you what it is. I've been predicting this for forever. Basically, what it is, it doesn't appeal to any sort of collective sense of anything. It's just saying this is a means by which you could self-actualize and like your individual like heroism or whatever.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
It doesn't matter what the cause is. It doesn't matter what the meaning is in some sort of discursive social sense. All that matters is that you can grind for experience and you can unlock the next weapon or whatever for yourself. Like, and this conflict could be any conflict.
It's like Starship Troopers, basically, where it's like no one thinks we're justified here, but then this fascistic kind of romanticism, irrationalism will kick in, and it's almost like it's almost like when Fallout says war never changes. This is another.
Yeah.
This is going to be when the new Roman Empire rises and Baron Trump is going to become the new conqueror. And I'm noticing all these like gay, excuse my French, but I'm noticing all this like
Warhammer.
Yeah, like
Warhammer.
on Twitter, everyone's like. Yeah. Like Baron Trump is gonna be he is the next Caesar of America, and it's like everyone is trying to kind of like lay claim to some kind of like sense of the metaphysical to escape the immediacy of the content of political struggle and conflict today. So there's kind of like escaping into, like you said, Warhammer or the Roman Empire or something, where they want to LARP and basically it's just like what fascism was doing back in the day. Yeah. And it's like basically this ironic over-identification with democracy and our values, not because anyone believes in it, but because it's like it really is a way to just like assert the raw power of America and have a sense of pride and empowerment and in that, like you mentioned. And it's like I see it's so fucking obvious how much a psyop, how intentional that psyop was to cultivate that culture among gamers.
Yeah.
I think Helldivers 2 is a Fed-funded game. I don't care if it is or not. It's
Where does it come out of? It's a European thing, I believe, right? Like it's like a Swedish game company or something.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
That's literally the vanguard. It's not just Sweden. It's also the Reddit belt of Lithuania, Latvia.
Of course. Yeah.
That's where like NAFO and the NATO, the new, we always were thinking, I don't know if you were thinking, but it was like, how is NATO going to be ideologically acceptable to the new generation? Like, it's ridiculous. This is literally like outdated infrastructure. Who is going to die for NATO? And it's like,
wow, they really did a brand update. Like, they really figured it out.
They have the right brand nailed down. It's literally Nazism. It's literally fascism of like this destructive, nihilistic, psychotic, like vaporwave NATO edits. Democracy is non-negotiable, and it's like
gay marriage is non-negotiable.
Yeah, and it's
you will accept progressive values.
And it's like being led by like transgender gamers, and it all worked out perfectly. It literally all worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I think so. You know how like Helldivers, right? That came like the big discourse around it at the same time with people who were like, oh, is Starship Troopers? It's meant to be a satire. You're not supposed to think it's based or whatever. But actually, it's perfect. Like, that's one of the ways in which the film actually failed completely, because even satirizing this sort of thing, it doesn't really matter, because if you're enjoying it as a satire and you're like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if I, like, ironically did Starship Troopers because I'm in the know that it's a satire? There's no difference between that and just, like, being like, this is cool because big guns shooting alien bugs or whatever. Like there, like there's this sense that there's like an intellectual divide, like this chasm between the people who just like watch Starship Troopers are like, that seems cool, and the people who watch it and they go, oh, I'm in the know that this is a satire and it's actually bad. They're the same. It's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a satire. It works. It has the same effect.
Yeah.
Literally, it's like
exactly.
And
well, it's the same thing with like Nazism. Like, I don't really believe that the people like actually believed in like all of this, like, you know, rune magic and all this sort of stuff. Like, I don't like earnestly believe that they truly believed in it themselves. Like, I think it's just it's fun to present like complete nonsense as like a screen to just, you know, wield like follow your individual self-interest at a certain point.
And I think there's this. It's also I think the metaphysical position represented by it, or taken on by it, is basically like all the basis of Western rationalism on the overt level has broken down. So we're going to bluff that it still has a secret. And by the way, Western rationalism, it's a synonym for political liberalism, for capitalism. Like, it's all the same thing, right? And all of this is broken down, and it's irreparable in the face of its contradictions. So the metaphysical gesture taken on by this kind of fascism, and including the Starship Troopers or Helldivers version, is more or less saying that, okay, overtly, we're not going to even pretend to try and defend it, but, you know, behind that, at the level of aesthetics, and at the level of this kind of this mystique of eternal kind of ancient Rome and war, eternal war never changes, that kind of sublimation, if you want to call it, of the failure of Western modernity, let's say, that is just kind of a bluff, never realized. But it's almost like today's gamer ideologist has to put in a lot of work to continue to bluff that, like, no, if I'm going to do this vaporwave edit of like this Roman statue, and like, you don't get it, dude, but like somewhere in there is going to contain the key to like understanding everything about the world and everything that matters. And it's like, it's clearly a bluff to postpone a confrontation with contradiction, right?
Absolutely. Well, the other thing, right, is that at the end, like, no one, it doesn't matter how much anyone believes in it, because what they really come down to at the end of the day, like, you push and prod these people to like the very end of their discourse, they go, well, we have bigger guns, like we have more science and technology, and that's like the realization of like will to power in the world. So like, if we want to dominate the world, we'll just dominate the world. Like, you know, good luck Houthis and the whatever. We'll just send ships over because we have all the base technology, etc. So really, what I'm saying, like, as I've been saying, like, the only way that this contradiction will actually be faced is when it's like, okay, well, call your bluff. Like, here it is. You have to go do the thing that you say you're capable of doing, and then they're just not. And then it'll just be something that has to be reckoned with, because there's no way to like rationalize against like a defeat in reality. So I don't really see any other, like, there's no like warning. Like, I don't know. I've got Cassandra syndrome. Like, I can predict the future, but no one is going to do anything differently.
Here's the thing: leftists always fearmonger about fascism, but, and this is gonna be taken out of context, but it's like, you know what? Whenever we go over, whenever the powers that be go overtly fascist, that's literally when they just shit the bed, when their bluff was called, and they're gonna go to war, and that's their last card. And it's like, Germany went fascist, and then what was the actual result of that? The result of that was that the USSR took half of Europe. So it's like, that's when the ruling class goes fascist, you really know they're on their last leg and they're just about to be defeated, is what I mean.
Precisely. Like, I don't see like there's the project for a new American century is a failure, but they're not going to stop trying to implement the plans that have been being implemented for 50 fucking years, you know? Like, as Hudson says in that latest thing, he's like, there is no plan B. Like, they don't plan around a plan B. If you're not contributing to like the development and refinement of plan A, in this sense, like, of like this unipolar domination of the globe, if you're not like working to help implement that, then you're just not getting promoted in the system. Like, you'll just be like wiped out, like you're just not listened to. Like, that's the only voice that anyone in power wants to hear, is like, how do we help accomplish the goal that we've established as the goal? Like, there's no discourse about it. Like, there's not meant to be. It's literally like a, you know, it's like Lippmann said that like democracy was too important to be left up to the people. You know, it's like democracy is non-negotiable. Like, this plan is non-negotiable. It's being implemented. There's nothing we can do about it. We just have to wait until the fucking contradictions become apparent to the degree that they're like undeniable, in the sense of like a military defeat. It's like the Russian czarists, right? Whereas there was nothing you could say at the time to, like, Lenin couldn't have caused the Bolshevik Revolution before before World War One, before like the horrors of World War One.
That's something else. I mean, we find a lot of consolation that China's also planning. But another thing is that even when it comes to the Palestine stuff, So many of these people do not appreciate that what led the events to happen in the way they did was the result of a lot of long-term planning by the axis of resistance, which is Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, whatever. Like, they didn't just do that as a random act of protest. There was a lot of planning that went into it, and which and it's still like that plan is, and like the real conflict. People need to understand this. The real conflicts that happen in the world are not between like activists and people who are just like I guess sitting in power just because they have the might to. It's a conflict between different plans that are clashing,
Yeah.
and different strategies. And it's like they don't have that. They don't have a strategy. The problem with the Palestine movement in the US, they don't have a strategy. I saw a video of them like walking.
No, they're actually like they exist, and they're kind of tolerated because they actually help to preserve a sort of general, like, I'd prefer not to be involved feeling around the whole thing. No one, because like you want to be if you're a normal person, right? Like, if you're a normal person like me at this point, like you've got fucking kids to take care of and shit like that. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, I like these people who are just like doing vandalism and just causing like just sabotaging the daily livelihoods of normal people, so they can scream about something that is like an obscure issue to me, which is happening on literally the other side of the world. Like, no one wants to be a part of that. So if
I
anything,
honestly think
they're allowed because they're negative propaganda. They make
thing,
the whole thing look bad.
The best thing that could have been organized at a national level, and I would have participated in it, is a tax strike. That would have been so. I mean, that's literally all we need.
Oh, dude, that's how you get in real big trouble, though. Like that's that. They don't fuck around with that.
See, everyone wants to do it, but no one wants to like be the one.
That's the basis of legitimacy. That's been the basis of legitimacy for regimes since, as Hudson notes, like it's like from before there was even fucking currency. Like that's the basis of legitimacy.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I kind of wish we were all like hooked up into Neuralink, and that way we could just have a decentralized one where like they won't be able to pinpoint, like we'd all read each other's thoughts basically. They won't be able to pinpoint the one guy who like started it, but it'll just like spread spontaneously. Like we could all read each other's minds, like, all right, let's stop paying taxes. That way they can't get us all, right? They can't, because the issue is if someone tries to organize it, they're really fucked, before it even.
Well, it's sort of like when you're in high school or whatever, and you try to organize like a walkout or something, right? Where it's like, oh well, actually that's the one thing you're not allowed to do. Like I remember actually in my high school there was like senior pranks and things like this, right? But it became like codified. This is like such a great metaphor for America. The senior prank every year had to be approved by the administration. So like the student representatives would be like, this is the prank we're going to do, and it would have to be sort of approved because there were like too many. I know, dude. Because there were pranks before that like ended up with like the police involved and kids getting in trouble and like things like that. So they were like, hey, what if we just like take this inside the system, right? And we like have a government approved protest, right?
Yeah.
A government approved walkout, etc. So it becomes like codified as a sort of civic ritual. So you can like feel like you're doing something, but it doesn't have like the substance that it does when it's actually like this sort of spontaneous movement.
You know what? That reminds me. I don't know if I ever told you this when I went to DC in like November or whatever for the Tim Pool shit. But you know what? I was in DC, okay? I was in front of the White House. I don't know when the last time you went there was.
It's been a while.
I was walking around, like all around the White House and Congress and Senate. Everywhere you go, it's literally like a Disney theme park where there are plaques and memorials and information boards that will tell you about the history of protests and protesting, like like here. And I'm not talking about something that happened in the 60s or 100 years ago. I go to their museum, the National Museum that's run by the government in DC, and they literally memorialize the protests as recent as the Iraq War and BLM in 2020. And it's all this, they literally have the signs on display and they like memorialize and glorify them. And then I go in front of the White House. This is right in front of the White House, right in front of the White House lawn, right? And there's a guy, and I know that guy's a fucking Fed who's like, he seems like he's a homeless guy, and he's got like a tent, and this tent, he's supposed to be like a guy protesting, and he's got signs and flags from every single CIA funded separatist and color revolution movement around the world. So he's got the Free Turkestan flag, Free Tibet, free whatever, Darfur.
Yeah.
Every single like liberal NGO protest, BLM. He's got all of it. And then for good measure, someone threw in a Palestine flag. I doubt that was CIA, but I don't know. But it's like, that's right in front of the White House. That's right in front of where the president of the U.S. lives. That's literally in D.C., the capital. The whole regime that we have is literally run by hippies from the 1960s who were part of the counterculture and the culture of protest. That is literally who runs the government right now. And the whole ideology that governs us is based on, civil society, activism, whatever, and you're encouraged to do it. So people think it's somehow revolutionary, but it's like, no, it's not revolutionary when the capital of the regime is literally creating a theme park around what you're doing.
Yeah. This is like so I've been connecting a lot of dots after reading Temples of Enterprise, because there's the whole section. I read this on a space on Saturday, but this whole section on the original, like these like cities like of trade being, and cities of refuge for like murderers and things like this, and like archaic times being the first like apolitical, as in like not a polis, not organized as like a city state or anything like this, but there were literally like zones of exception that were on the edge of like various like sort of somewhat delineated like ethnos, like tribal kinship relationships, etc. But that's really I would consider this like in like you read like Thessalonians or in the New Testament or whatever, when it describes like the Antichrist as the spirit of lawlessness or like anarchy.
Yeah.
That this is really like what is actually the governing ideology is like, and this is again like obviously we're speaking to the choir here to talk about like anarchist, fascist, this sort of anarcho tyranny, this sort of like imperial anarchy, like the real anarchists being the world bankers and things like this. That this is like makes much more sense than to think that they have any sort of positive program. Like there's the irony of like describing what the rules based order, but what it really means is a geopolitical anarchy, which is the foundational for the school of thought for like international relations that tends to be cultivated in America in particular, is this notion that there's a fundamental state of anarchy, and that this fundamental state of anarchy is kind of like God, like God's will, like God's decree.
And that's something I'd also emphasize, though, is that, I kind of hate Hudson for releasing that book, because literally for 1 year, I thought I'm going to be the one, because all that stuff that he was writing about Temples of Enterprise, all those blog posts from the 90s and the 2000s he has on his website, all of that is literally like the subject of a huge portion of my book. And I thought I was going to be like, oh, I'm going to really shine a lot of light on this and be super unique and original. And then he releases a whole book dedicated to it, and I'm like, wow, I really gotta revise a lot of things. But
I think he knows that how old he is, because he's really been going hard. Like he's not like he used to dress things up a lot more, but now he's like, the Zionists aren't even people.
So he's like, I mean, I think even beginning in ancient Greece, there's a lot to be said about this. Like you can talk about it for hours, but what I would say is like a lot of people have a conception. Let's look at Hobbes and John Locke, whatever. A lot of people have a conception of political power, which is actually just an extension of what Engels calls, and I integrate this with Hudson, Gentile society. So Gentile society is based on like the immediacy of kinship relationships, like the tribe, the gens, the family, whatever. We're basically like, your authority is like an immediate chief. It's something immediate in your community. Your community is usually no more than 250 people, whatever. You have a chief, and he's literally a guy who's like, him in person, right? So people extend the Gentile political power to they scale it up, and they're like, that's what ancient Egypt was, and that's what ancient Babylonia was. It was just the chief, but he was just really powerful. But what they don't realize, like you said, is that the temple was apolitical, right? So it represented, and the way it represented the commonality of the whole people is that it mediated the differences between these different tribal groups that had chiefs, that had their own patriarchal authorities. And not only would it take the murderers and the runaways, it would take the disabled, it would take people who couldn't integrate, it would take maybe widows, people who couldn't really find a social standing. It would also take people whose whole wealth was destroyed and, needed to work
Yeah.
land that was owned by the temple in exchange, and that's kind of the origin of debt. I'm not going to get into it, but through the kind of, it's almost like a state of exception in a way, through the exceptionalities in these Gentile communities, as well as through mediating their differences, that is how temples first acquired
Authority.
yeah, but no, they acquire authority later when temples themselves became memorialized because they somehow got caught up in conflict. And the way they got caught up in conflict was through an extreme. This is something I'm kind of adding to Hudson that I don't really think he goes into, which is the nomadic element. Because temples, remember, they mediate the relationships between sedentary patriarchal groups. But nomads, when they come and they arrive, and nomads fight amongst themselves, right? And when temples literally get in the crossfire of the conflicts between nomads, at a certain point, nomads make an alliance with farmers, and that alliance becomes memorialized in a new kind of temple structure, which is no longer just a temple, but it's a tomb, right? The tomb is a seat of political authority. The first authority was based on literally death cults, right? Memorializing fallen heroes or a fallen hero, right? And that is how it becomes an actual political authority. So at no point is just like a chief ruling over everyone as in like as scaling up. That's not how it works. From the very outset, the state is always an impersonal authority, and all that happens is it becomes memorialized, and it acquires personality in the form of monarchy and stuff because of the memorialization of its place within a wider web of relationships. Whereas before, it was never memorialized. It was simply always existed. There was never a history of the temple. The temple just was a site of communion with the gods. But what I'm trying to get at here is that as soon as we get to ancient Greece, something weird happens. I don't know if it's related. I'd have to do more. I mean, I haven't fully conquered the part about ancient Greece yet. I'm still in the Bronze Age. But it's very strange because these strange kind of, I don't know what to call them, mystery cults, oracle cults, I don't know what I would call them, kind of form alongside the rise of usurious oligarchies. And it's almost as if they're artificially maintaining the impersonality of the temple structure and retarding its development into the higher kind of palatial, monarchical, and empire structure. And that's being done through literal cults, through literal intentional cults, like methodically through these kind of cults which sublimate the absence of the monarch in its own right. Like, it's not just that there's an absence of a monarch, it's that absence as anarchy is being sublimated as an actual like ritual and cult practice. And I think that's like a lot of the conspiracy theories about like people in hoods, I mean,
well, I was gonna say like that's like the foundation of like the Greek mythology, right? Because like the age of Saturn, right, is sort of representative of this palatial economy of like that before that antedates this, and it's really like when you have like and then you have like the Greek pantheon, which is really an anarchy. Like Zeus is only in power for times, he's constantly having to assert his authority because there's a fundamental state of anarchy even for the gods because they killed like their own god. Like their gods become like demigods. They're not even like transcending humanity. They have all of the flaws and failures of human beings.
Yeah, and it's like it's so strange because ancient Greece comes after the collapse of the Bronze Age, and as we know, I don't know how to say it, so everyone will have to forgive me. Mycenaean Greece or whatever. You know, Bap is such an idiot because him and his community seem to
He's not that
imply
dumb. He knows what he's doing.
they seem to imply that, you know, like okay, first you had a bunch of like brown matriarchal farmers, and then the base nomads from the steppe came and created a warrior aristocracy, enslaved everyone. And it's like they get the chronology totally wrong, all right?
Yeah.
The Aryan steppe warriors, the Indo-European steppe warriors, actually were integrated into the palatial authority, and that did not create any kind of warrior aristocracy. That created the same kind of monarchical power that existed before when other nomads from the desert fulfilled the same role. So there was no abrupt, the racialists are retards because there was no abrupt discontinuity brought about by the arrival of Indo-European groups. It was just in continuity with the same thing of when Semitic nomadic groups did the same thing. The discontinuity they're talking about comes after the collapse of the Bronze Age, after Mycenaean Greece, which is a palatial era of Greece, which was like normal, like Egypt and like Babylon and whatever. And in the Iron Age, the arrival of the Iron Age and the Sea People, something strange happens where in the midst of the collapse of this kind of central authorities and monarchical forms of authorities, a new, novel, strange structure takes form, which becomes the Greek city-state as we know it, with its unprecedented rise of like chattel slavery to tend to the field as a result of debt, and so on and so on. So the missing link between there is not fucking based warriors coming from the steppe who are like badass conquerors. The missing link are these usurious, parasitical oligarchs, and the only warriors that are fitting in this equation are literal mercenaries and pirates employed by them, who they're literally employing to do their dirty work. So
I think I've tried to tie this to like also like how this sort of replays again with like the Vikings later on. I think that the cause is that there was actually like, you know, a complete like civilizational collapse almost across the entire world that was due to like effectively like many years of drought and like famine and things. And when you enter this sort of like post-apocalyptic scenario, you have like the remnants of these like sort of technologies, but they start to be used like completely differently. So like this is even how like you get like interest-bearing debt, for instance. Like the Greeks didn't come up with this idea themselves. Like this was something that was like around that they sort of inherited, but they don't inherit like the full context of it. And now that there's like a state of anarchy in these civilizations that had like developed this as like as a means of like as like a form of public infrastructure, basically for planning, essentially planning the economy. They inherit this, but like now in this sort of like post-apocalyptic situation, there's not really like the quote unquote checks and balances that would exist in like a more normative usage of it. It's sort of like a mafia in a burgeoning society, in a society that's actually functioning, can't be as like brutalizing as one that's in a sort of post-apocalyptic situation. So it has to like maintain this post-apocalyptic situation continuously. That's in order to like have this have people like be willing to like, you know, like the threat of starvation or death or whatever.
And you know, I think we fast forward, you know, many thousands of years, because I don't know if this is exactly true for ancient Greece, but I know it's true for the Italian city-states, where not only are these mafias, but these are like terrifying like mystery cults that literally are probably fucking worshiping demons. And I don't know if how much I don't know how much you believe in this stuff, but it's like I straight up do believe that a function of oligarchy is also like these like
it's devil worship.
Yes, like literal hood, like they're wearing hoods and doing rituals and shit type of devil worship.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think it makes perfect sense. Like
it does,
because like who are the first like oligarchs, right? Like if you think of oligarchy as being the interest of the few in the scheme of the one, the few, and the many, in the war in heaven, like and like the war in heaven, who are the few? Like it's 1/3 of the angels, right, become the demons, right? That's not the many, and it's not the one. It's the few. It's like 1/3. So it's really not like this. It's like so if you're like ascribing yourself as being one of the few, right? Then you have to like reverse the polarities on what is like a normative ethic of like the one and the many, which are the more basic categories, right? Where it's like you have one. Fundamentally you have one and then you have many. It's a further level of abstraction to determine few.
You have to maintain your position, but you're not doing it just to maintain your position. You're maintaining a position. You're maintaining a kind of conceit of metaphysical anarchy, which doesn't have to prove itself in any way through skin in the game. And that's exactly why it corresponds to the kind of the continuation of the oligarchical position, and why it is that people are like, well, what about monarchies? Aren't lifelong monarchies also lacking dynamism? And it's like, no, because it's so simple to explain it to people. This is how I thought of it. It's like with the power of one person, that guy will treat his subjects equally, and he is before his subjects equally, meaning he has to maintain his rule and his power to everyone. And the minute he enters into an exclusive relationship with a handful of people who literally have dirt on him in ways that the common man does not, that's when that's how an oligarchy takes form. So the more power one person has, the more actually that the content of his power is going to reflect a responsivity to the masses in general. But the minute he has to start sharing power because a few people have dirt on him, or he has an exclusive relationship with a few people, that's when an oligarchy is going to take form, which starts to act on behalf of interests contrary to the majority. So it's like, it's actually good for one guy to have unlimited power. And it's actually not, it's like the more power one guy has, who's the leader, the more power everyone has,
Yeah, this is like what Kajev says, because authority isn't something that's like vested or created from an individual in and of themselves. That's actually the oligarchical way of understanding authority.
Yeah.
But as he also notes, that's just understanding what force is. That's not what authority and force are not the same thing. Authority doesn't compel by force; it compels by a sort of like metaphysical relation where like you're like an authority has like a grip on you, not by force, but sort of by your own like subjective sense of self.
Exactly.
Where you're like this. So this is that's like precisely the difference. So if a society agrees that, like, this is also why like Americans like don't really, they're like, there's no way that the Poles in Russia that like Putin's actually that popular or whatever, because they don't understand that it's like, well, he would be that popular because he's the guy and like he has authority, and you don't even know what that's like, because we think that what's normal is for there to be no authority and there to be only like a sort of rule of force, where it's like, oh, I'm forced to acknowledge that this is my president. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No, you have it exactly right. And yeah, but it's
there's this sort of ironies, like, I don't know, I appreciate them more and more like every year as I learn more, but it's really just sort of a theme I've been mining for years, and I don't really question it at this point. It's not really like up to debate for me. Like I know what I know, at this point.
Yeah.
Like there's very few people I can talk to in depth about it, so it's nice talking to you because you're on the same wavelength. But
yeah, same.
I just don't think that it can be like translated to like mass consciousness, barring like the sort of inevitabilities of the situation we find ourselves in.
It's a weird thing where it's like, because people, you know what it is, dude? It's like people think too fucking hard about it.
Yeah,
the shit we say.
It's all much more simple. This is like I'm also like becoming foolishness shames the wise, right? Like this fake wisdom that everyone has, like their poli-sci degrees or whatever, and then the common sense, like sort of like dumb way of looking at it is usually far more intelligent than this like hyper systematic and like intellectualized version of understanding things. It's like, it's really not that complicated, at the end of the day, like, it's not that hard.
It even scares me because like I notice I understand the hate that I get because I've always had a very like aggressive personality or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I see that you get sometimes even more intense hatred for saying like for not being aggressive at all and just like saying the truth, but a truth that's like I guess painful for people, that's kind of terrifying. Like why
Oh, bro.
it's like
Imagine being
you
me.
on the one hand people are like, "Oh yeah, you know, you're going to dismiss you as like a schizo who's dumb or whatever." But like you really trigger people to like to such an extent where I'm like, What chord did you like what dog did you just hit? Like it's a hit dog holler. It's like what what in the deep recesses of their unconscious did you activate for them to fucking lose their shit like this, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I try not to do it so much anymore. Like I used to like have it down to a science, and I would really like make an effort at doing that. Because honestly, like I'm not like I'm not pretending like I was some like morally great person or whatever like 10 years ago even or whatever. Because like my real goal was to just like I wanted to like have like public notoriety to the degree that I could write things and people would read them or whatever.
Same,
And I was
yeah.
like, oh, this game actually is like an adversarial medium, and what you want to do is like create like the biggest possible reaction against yourself. Like everyone knows this, which is why everyone calls everything grifting or whatever now. But and it's also like you can't really do that anymore. The medium's
No,
totally
you can't.
different.
It's totally
But
different.
I literally like I had it like like I trained my brain in a way to be able to like produce these sort of things like I'd be like, oh, this is it was like I would have it used to be fun for me, but it stopped being fun a while ago because the blowback started to be much more real than it
Yeah,
was with like sort of like people
exactly. That's
being mad online or whatever. It's like, yeah, they're not mad online, like they're actively trying to like
yeah,
fucking
they're
ruin
just
my life.
homicidal now. Like they
Yeah,
actually
they're like actually like psychopaths.
Yeah, I mean, I
That
think
I'm like legitimately worried about.
I feel like I hit the tail end of when this was a viable way to like gain notoriety. And the way I did it, I admit it was very reckless. But like I was on the same shit. Like just make as many people as mad as you can. And I hated these people anyway, so I didn't care, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And be as outrageous and controversial as possible. And like it's literally simple. Like it's so easy. But then like you said, it just like it stopped working because the market got so oversaturated. And with that, it became so much more intense, the reaction to it. And then I
Well,
was
like
like,
I would say what it was for me, it was like initially it was like like, oh, it's like really easy to like troll leftists like this or whatever because they're like that. And so then there was like sort of built up like in like the 2010s a sort of arsenal, like a sort of collective arsenal of like, hey, here's like a thing that you can do to like really piss off all the leftists or whatever. And that then became like the new sort of paradigm for culture in a lot of ways, where that sort of like bag of tricks is now like what people use in lieu of like any sort of independent or creative thought. They're like, hey, I have this like arsenal that I've been provided by like screen caps of like the internet over these last like 10 years, and that's now me. Like I just repeat these like an AI or whatever. It's really when I was starting to be critical of like this arsenal or whatever and be like, oh, this is just like the same thing. That's really when it like completely shifted. And it was like when like like when I was getting kicked out of Frog Twitter and things like this, when all the bad people like turned or whatever. It was really much more of a like where I was like doing self criticism or like turning the criticism back around onto the same milieu. That's when it really like got much worse for me in those terms. Like it became much worse for
like
anyone who did that in
trolling
the
the
first place.
trolls, basically.
Yeah, trolling the trolls. That's where you really get. That's where you really get in the crosshairs for some bad shit. Because like they think of themselves, they're like, oh, we're so rebellious or whatever. But it's like Elon Musk is now like like it's so like all of this like viral anti-Semitism, blah blah blah, like hate facts, blah 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 from like the 2010s. This is now just like normal, like it's all been totally
Dude, we are
accepted into the
so
culture.
back. We are
Dude,
so
we're
back.
so dude, this is triggering so many people. It's like it doesn't matter anymore. None of that. No one cares. Like none of that matters. And what's funny is like I've actually seen like I still get like see some of the stuff from the rightoids, but there was this guy who's like an identity Europa guy, who's now like, hey, wait, like, do you really think that like the Israelis are like more against Western civilization than Muslims are? Like, wait a minute, shouldn't we do some like self correction here? Like that's why BAP. What I mean is like he knew what he was doing. Like he actually did create like a very like standardized form of consciousness that is it's a seductive, as he even says. Like that's why he likes Nietzsche, is because this has this sort of pornographic, like seductive appeal. It's like sort of addicting because it's like smoking crack. It's like easy. It's like easy, and you feel like a god or something while you're smoking crack, but you're still a crackhead. At the end of the day.
Yeah, very true, very true. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I just think that, I don't know if you know that guy Kareem. He did a great thread on BAP when October 7th happened. He's like,
oh yeah, I was like, here's the real
Hamas
Bronze Age mindset.
proves the disproves the Bronze Age mindset. It's like, I think that just speaks for itself. And that sums up my whole attitude to BAP. It's pretty much like, it's like it's actually as simple as this. It's literally like a virgin who can't shut the fuck up about sex, right?
Well, it's kind of what it is. I mean, the guy is like 40 something. He's still like hanging out with adolescents. Like he hasn't really, he's kind of a weird guy,
It's that, but it's also like they always talk about like, oh, the themes of war and conquest. But like when it comes to actually facing the content of what that is, they really kind of back away from it and like shudder, like very nervously, and they kind of blush.
Oh yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, it's like a virgin that won't shut up about sex. It's like, yeah, the reason they're talking about it so much is precisely because of like how much they're far away from it,
The irony is that like I feel like the reason partially I get so much shit from that circle is that like a lot of those guys, like they're just smoking crack like recreationally. Like they don't really identify as crackheads in their day-to-day life, And they're like, I wish that I could just have a normal life or whatever, but that's been denied to me. So I'm going to become dark crackhead on the internet. Like I've been forced into this position. But if it's sort of like, hey, you can like, interact with all these things. Like, hey, you can even maybe smoke crack a little bit, but you can just like stop smoking crack and you can just be a normal person. You can just like, and like you can be a little cringe. It's okay. Like you can be like, hey, I'm like riding a carousel with my daughter. Isn't this swell? Like, oh, how cringe. That's not Bronze Age mindset enough. How cucked, etc. Like you're not smoking crack 24/7. What are you doing? Like, we got to be smoking crack 24/7, or else we're not real crackheads. We're gonna get called out by the crackhead fraternity for not being true crackheads.
I know it's cringe because it is cringe when they're like, "Yo, the right is the new counterculture," but I think that's true in a bad way as well, where it's like, in the same way that in the counterculture they all like sold out and it became super cringe. That's like the same shit going on with
absolutely
the frog. It's like it's literally what happened to the hippies, where like now you're gonna have like Jack Posobiec and other fucking, and you're gonna have like Ben Shapiro starting to adopt.
You had Ron DeSantis. It's always the cringiest people too.
Yeah.
You had Ron DeSantis doing Sonnet Rand memes. It's like, hey, come on, guys! Like this is really what you wanted. Like
we are so back, and they're like, we won, and they're like, they don't realize. This is the thing. I understand for a lot of these guys
celebrating like Sydney Sweeney being on SNL. It's like, holy shit, guys! Like you're literally,
God, dude, literally
like.
Here's the thing.
Why are you...
for a lot of these people, it was like all they wanted to do was troll. They didn't even care about like the Nazi stuff. They just wanted to troll. Like that was it. Right?
Yeah. No, that's the entry point.
Yeah, that's the entry point. Just like trigger the fuck out of people and like see how far you could take it with meme magic or whatever. And it's like, wow, right? But what they didn't realize, they didn't even.
I can give you a little insight on this, but go ahead.
But they didn't realize, like, you didn't even understand. Like, you were using all these symbols because they triggered people, but you didn't even understand what they were, what their history was, and like what you were being corralled into. And when Ron DeSantis uses that symbol, you think you won, but in reality, he fucking won, and you got neutralized. And that was literally contained in the symbol from the very beginning, but you didn't even fucking know it. It's like a tragedy in a way,
Well, it's like, if you recall, like back in the 2000s, early 2010s even, the idea of someone being a Nazi was itself a joke. Like, okay, like, it was literally like a form of LARPing, as like just like wouldn't it be insane like that everyone was like playing dress up with like radical chic with like Nazi stuff because it was so culturally outmoded, etc.
Yeah, it was
And even like
ridiculous.
there was obviously a population of like like Aryan Brotherhood prison gang type shit or whatever, but all of that stuff was like completely ghettoized, and like to appreciate it was sort of like a post ironic sort of thing. Patton Oswalt, okay, like the smiling merchant picture, you know that one.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
the do you know who drew that? A. Wyatt Mann. Do you know that guy?
No, no.
You ever heard of him? Okay, well, as a cartoonist, I forget what his real name is. Do you know who he's friends with in real life? It was one of Patton Oswalt's friends. Okay, Patton Oswalt, the Gen X Star Wars nerd comedian who's in the latest Ghostbusters movie.
What?
Okay, that's really where that cult. Yeah, that's where that this Gen X culture of like being like ooh Nazi stuff, or like it was the same thing of them being like ooh Satanism or whatever. It was this whole like just like shock value to like just entertain all of these things like on the fringes, like because it's like the boomers sort of opened up this notion of like just transgression, individualism, blah blah blah, against like the normative American civilization that existed prior, like this sort of
And then
1960s
that got
summer of love
co-opted. So the only thing they could do to keep up
was be like demonic.
yeah, to be the opposite of that. Like
But be like, I'm not actually demonic. Like it's like worship Satan and eat pizza. Like it's a joke. Like we're all in on the joke. Like
yeah,
it's not real. Like Satanism's actually all about progressive values and being a good fucking person, good hacking person to people, and like petting your dog.
It's like so fucking it's like people are so fucking stupid. It's like, all right, first it was like a counterculture of yeah, I'm just going to undermine all the traditional values. But then that gets co-opted, and then like 20 years later, another edgy contrarian comes by and like, you know what? I don't believe in racial equality. Whoa. That's like, yeah, it's just like a fucking merry-go-round of people. It's really a merry-go-round of like playing leapfrog and hot potato with like, oh, I'm gonna be the rebellious contrarian, and then I'm gonna sell out, and then I'm gonna be rebellious against that, and then I'm gonna sell out, and then like on and on it goes. But meanwhile, we're just like bombing other countries, and like the fucking foreign policy agenda is fully in play the same way as it should have been.
Well, it's like you gotta give the devil his due here. It's a very engaging spectacle. Like people have a lot of fun playing this game, and like obviously there's a whole new generation that's gotten involved since like my days in my 20s or whatever. I'm 30 years old now, so there's like a whole new generation just like they're like brought into this game, and all of this DLC has been added to the discourse, and they can explore all like the World of Warcraft realms of the discourse, and be like, oh my god, like it's all it is. It's a synthetic reality.
Sometimes neo-Nazis tell me like, Haz, how are you a dissident? The most banned and canceled thing in the world is you can't JQ and you can't praise Hitler, so it must be the most rebellious thing. And I want to look at this people. I'm like, dude, in the 1950s what the most rebellious thing in the fucking world was? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you fucking retard. Like,
yeah,
it literally just switched because the other thing got co-opted, and now your shit's about to be co-opted, and you don't even see that.
Yeah, and I mean, I sort of like I don't really believe that there's like grand schemes in terms of like material stuff, like in terms of like we really need to get access to these pipelines, et cetera. Like that's really the terms of like grand planning or whatever. I don't think there's like these grand cultural programming or whatever. I just
think it happens how it happens,
No, I do think that there's sort of there's a rationality behind it, right? Because it's like all of this stuff is going to be extremely normalized. It's going to be used, especially as we enter more of like a war state, because like it has to be like there's like what's going to bring people in, like if you look at like the advertising for the U.S. Army and things like that in the last year, 2 years, they've already changed the tone like explicitly from like the former like recruiting because, yeah, it's like we're based now, and it's like you got like this guy who made Halo like running for Congress and shit like this.
Yeah,
like,
dude, I can't wait for them to fucking do their Helldivers 2 Army propaganda and then have some fucking like retard like the Quartering be like, oh my god, guys, it's actually happening. The U.S. Army is now based, and we won.
Well, and then you'll have the bread tube like Douglas Lane guys being like, this proves that the U.S. Army doesn't understand satire.
Yeah.
They're self-owning and they don't even know it. They're so self-owning right now.
What do you think about my thesis that specific? Okay, the bread tube kind of like NAFO people, they're gonna make it to the to the golden city. Like they're gonna make it to the ruling class and they'll be fine. But
I know these people.
don't you think the
Like, I'm in
ones
San
that are
Francisco right now.
don't you think the ones lined up for the slaughter most tragically who will not survive, they're literally gonna be like the Jacobites or some shit. They're just gonna like be a lost cause, just totally forgotten, totally destroyed. Is it's gonna be what I call them red liberals, where they're basically like they're claiming to be communists, and no, they're still claiming to be anti-imperialist. No, we're not going to support NATO, but they're also like like liberals when it comes to domestic politics on every front, basically. And it's like those people are historically irrational, and they don't know how much that both the liberal establishment has no use for them except like being attack dogs against us, which is not even being effective anymore. And on the other hand, obviously the right wing doesn't like them. Those people are literally going to be. I knew this after Bernie lost in 2020. I'm like, you know who's going to actually suffer big time going forward? The so-called radical left. They are fucked. Like they're going to be totally erased. They are totally going to be outmoded. And they're the ones who are going to lose out the biggest in terms of like the big.
They're like, so you can go to San Francisco right now. You can go to Hate Street, and you got people wearing their Grateful Dead patches, and they're talking about like freedom and like peace, love, blah blah blah. They're still living out the like 1960s version of that. You know what I mean? Like it sticks around. It just that we'll never have the sort of the force it once had, like or at least like the kind of popular purchase. They've been outmoded in that way, but lots of things that have been outmoded stick around. You know, there's like the Amish are still around. You know, like they'll still be around. They're just going to be like a very small thing that has no real popular purchase whatsoever. What's more like like compare it? I don't know. All of this is really just like the politics of narcissism, because like I don't know, none of this has like any real effect. And like I could rationalize like the red liberal type of person. All they're trying to do is to come up with a position that they can like justify to themselves so that they can like feel good about they're like, oh, I'm not complicit. Like, oh, I'm not complicit. Like that's all that they're looking for in the first place. So it's like, oh, I'm not complicit. Like none of this has anything to do with me. I'm not complicit in any of this. Like, you know, like I'm a good fucking person. Like that's like there's a lot of positions that people take that are like that. They just want to be deemed like innocent by themselves, but there's like a nagging doubt, like which is why they oppose you know, people like us so much.
Yeah, no, for real. And it's like I think people really underestimated like the longevity of you and I's position. I mean, you've been at it way longer, but I'm like, we are gonna. I think we're gonna last, and everyone's waiting. Like, oh, well, when is Haas gonna sell out? And like, when is Haas, even Jackson? When is Haas and Jackson gonna sell out and just become like like mainstream conservatives? And when are they gonna join the Republican Party? And it's like, no, we're actually in this for we have a way bigger longevity than you're giving us credit for. And I actually think
it's just people who like. There's a lot of people who just like fundamentally don't have principles, because it's not really like you're not supposed to have principles in the society. It's weird if you have principles. It's alienating. You know, people don't like it if you have principles. You're supposed to just be chasing that bag. Like, why would you have principles if it doesn't help you make more money? Like, there's no like you're just cucking yourself, right? Like by having principles.
Yeah,
that's sort of that's what the idea is. So like, no one can really like if you I don't know, if you don't have any principles, you can't really construct a theory of mind for someone who has fucking principles. Like, I can understand other principled actors, even if I don't share their principles, but I can understand their.
I've always seen our zeitgeist, or like I would say like our world spirit really is like the Xi Jinping revolution in China. Like, and I kind of like to call it a revolution because like it was like a big event and big change there. And it's like the way that related to time is like it wasn't like being at the avant-garde of the latest immediate development all the time. Like it was this kind of like, I don't want to say this because it's like super controversial, but in a kind of like, even in a kind of like, not in the Marxist sense of the word, but like in the ambiguous, maybe Carlyle sense of the word or some shit. I don't know. Like it was kind of reactionary in a way. where it was like we're gonna go back to the spiritual values of the Mao era. We're gonna stop and go back, and it's like we're gonna. But what ended up happening is that Xi Jinping became like the most left wing force on the globe, right? And he did that
in real material terms, of
right?
course.
Because
like, you have to be like not how we mean the left, but like a global perspective.
Because what he did is he planted his feet in the ground, and instead of just going with the latest thing, he's like, no, I'm gonna plant my feet in the ground. I'm going to actually have a real position at the end of history, which is like, this new lofty and wide outlook of civilization and reconciling the Mao era and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it was like this, the tortoise wins the race or whatever, slow and steady wins the race. It's like he basically assumed a position where it was like, it doesn't seem like this is going to last because what are you talking about? Like, the world is, you're trying to revive the Cultural Revolution stuff and doubling down on all the things that are outdated about China. And I remember that kind of rhetoric in like 2014, 2015. Now you look at the world, who's outdated now? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Isn't that crazy?
It's sort of, I mean, I would say like, it's, I just want to tie this back to the other thing, like all the people who are like, oh, like, I'm so esoteric, bro. Like, I'm so esoteric. I'm talking about Nordic runes, my dude, like Grimes, like heckin' Elon Musk, like Valkyrie, like Nordic stuff, like Valhalla in Marvel Universe, like esoteric type stuff I'm on. The real esoteric shit is just like China. like honestly, like that's the only real esoteric thing in the West is like any type of real understanding of the East in the 20th century into the present. Like, that is the most esoteric.
I literally
more esoteric than the Soviet stuff. The Soviet stuff has been co-opted to the degree where you have like these, like, as you said, like red liberals, like these people, they don't even want like communism in the East, like beyond that. They have no fucking idea.
Like, it's like, I had this realization and it came to me very suddenly, and this was like 2017 or something. But it was the culmination of my attempt to understand China. And I started to have fucking dreams about this shit. That's how much it was like it was hitting that close to me. And it's like, you come to the realization that we are living through the fulfillment of China's plan. Like, China has been charting a course through the stars, let's say, for like a very long time. The Communist Party has been doing this. And while it seems like everything that's happening is new, this is literally just part of the plan. And it's fulfilling itself. And like, once I appreciated this, even the 5-year plan, once I appreciated just the scale at which everything being unfolding was planned, and like China does know what they're doing actually, and they do have a plan, I was like, fuck, like that. I wasn't even a pro-China guy. Like, I wasn't even someone who was like, oh, China's socialist. But once I realized that, I was like, you know what? I've been sleeping on China, really underestimating them. And I got to wise up and understand that, like, this is a long game and it is real. It's not just a cynical thing or whatever. And like you said, it's literally esotericism. Everything going on the surface level, they don't give a shit about that. That doesn't affect none of the discourse or conversations we have in the West at all. Affect the plan. It doesn't. It's like they're literally locked in. That's all you could really say. Like, they're locked in.
Yeah. Like, I think a thing I've been coming to appreciate is that the reason why it doesn't inspire so much, like, I don't know, at least I guess year by year more people are like, holy shit, China, like, that's crazy what they're doing. Because like, it's just like undeniable if you have any like real,
if you go
real curiosity,
if you
about
see
it.
their cities, like, go in person and see it with your own eyes, you'll lose your mind, because it's like, what the fuck? This is a different world. This is a different planet. What happened?
Yeah, you're just like, wait, like, why don't we have, like, why couldn't we do this?
Dude,
like, it's really mind-boggling.
Dude, it's not even just Shanghai. You go to some random fucking cities in China, like, random ones.
I got you, dude. Yeah, no.
And it's like, what have they been doing here? There's literally like 15 replicas of Paris that they made, and people just live
Just
here.
for fun.
And it's literally like a total replica of a European city. People just live here. It was totally planned. And this is
Typical
a real
Chinese.
place.
They can't make anything new. They just make replicas
No, it's
of
all
European
fake.
things.
Everything in China is fake.
It's actually all made out of tofu. It's actually all fake. I know this for a fact.
It's not real. You see, the roads that all these cars are driving on, it's fake. The driving is also fake. The buildings that people are walking and living in.
Actually, all AI.
Yeah, actually, everything you see with your own eyes is actually fake because it's made out of fake materials, so therefore it's not real. And I'm like, at what point are these people gonna realize like it's actually real? Like it's not all.
When it is like when they decide to take Taiwan and the cadets who are sent over by America to go defend it are just evaporated by fucking rail guns in the sky.
Is it called the ship of Theseus? It's like, at what point does something that's fake just become real because it literally functions, looks, and behaves in a real way?
Yeah.
You know, that's literally what we're talking about. It's actually fake because it was all planned rather than a spontaneous result of capitalism. And I'm like, okay, if that's your definition of fake, fine. But it's like a ship of Theseus, bro. I'm like, dude, here's a car. They made this car. It literally works the same way as any other car. Gets you from point A to point B. And it's got all the things that cars have, whatever. And it's like, you're calling it fake, but it's like,
it functions.
But it's the same thing as like the car you have at home. So like, I think that the sense of authenticity as just like spontaneous, I guess, is what they mean. Like if something is just not planned, then it's authentic. And I guess that makes dysfunction the most authentic thing ever, because all the things that are not planned in America.
You gotta smoke crack. You gotta smoke crack.
Smoke crack. Yeah, when our bridges collapse, that's authentic because like we didn't plan for it to happen. You know?
Yeah, that's a real moment of being. Like this other stuff is like that's like being a robot. Like where's the freedom in not smoking crack all day and crashing ships into the Francis Scott Key Bridge? Like that's a real moment of American excellence. Is that bridge collapse? That was a true. That's real society. That's what a real civilization
looks like. Dude, I can see
it's
so easy to bullshit about anything because I could literally see like a Twitter thread of like the Francis Scott Key bridge collapse is the ultimate example of Nietzschean freedom.
Yeah.
just associate Nietzsche with it, and you can just like slap. You can turn shit into gold.
Oh man, you get a lot of engagements for that too. This new the new Elon slop algorithm really pushes you towards producing garbage like that.
A bunch of commie Jews want you to think that having functional bridges like China is actually the goal of a civilization, but actually,
the goal of a civilization.
No, let me do an AI. Let me do ChatGPT BAP justification of the bridge collapse. You know, they're trying to, these commies want to, these soft longhouse commies want you to think that having a functional bridge should be the goal of a civilization. But in moments like the collapse of the Francis Scott Bridge, when people are fighting for their lives, it's a true Nietzschean moment of adversity, of undecidability, and true heroism, where people must respond to a spontaneous scenario where the outcome is totally unforeseen and which they will make themselves in a totally free way in the midst of true chaos. Us approaching these near-death experiences reintroduce a sense of vigor, adventure, and glory.
And vitalism.
Vitalism to our daily lives, and we should have more collapses of bridges.
You know what the meme is? I got the meme attached to it. So you know, like it has, it's like the like jacked arm like holding the steering wheel. You know, like that one where it's like a guy like vaping on like driving a car. It's like that, and it's like the view of like a guy like hitting like his car flying over this collapsing bridge, and there's like a Sonic ramp in front of it and things, and it's like this is destiny.
No, sorry, you guys heard him. Make the meme. You guys have to make it now.
It says Amor Fati.
Oh my god. Oh man, listen. All right, if I laugh anymore, I'm not gonna be able to sleep. But I actually got to get to bed. But
All right. It's nice chatting to you, man.
Yeah, no, it was real
I don't
nice.
know. I was just sporadically like, hey, let's get on, but it was a good time.
No, yeah, it was great.
Have a good one, everyone.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure with Logo.
Whoever makes that meme, you're gonna get mad. You're gonna get so many notes. That's gonna do so well. Just trust me.
Yeah, everyone will love it. All right, man. I'll see you later.
All right, peace out.
See ya.